Good Saturday evening or Sunday morning, everybody, depending on where you're at. Hope you're all well. Welcome to Arty's Wacky Weekend stream. We call it Wacky Weekend Lite because Arty is unable to be here. And for the next few weeks, I and whoever joins me will be filling in. I'll be popping a link up in a little bit. Hope you are all doing well. I think I've already said that, but I'll say it again. I'm just trying to look at some chat and everything here. Let's see. Who is here? Welcome in, Airwolf, the helicopter. Eric from ANC Railroad. Hope you're doing well. Dwight Curley, the man himself, welcome in. We had a hello, just popping in to say hi from Stormy Sky Rail Productions. Thank you for popping in and saying hello. Tom from Märklin's train layout is here. Great to see you, Tom. Chris from Volleys 56 is here. We also had earlier Randall Ellison had popped in and said hi, so hopefully he's listening in the background. Ray Bertelson, I had seen him here earlier as well. So, what do I have on tap tonight? As you know, I am usually Arty's co-host, and it's my job just to be the foolish relief or comic relief. Just depends on how you want to look at it. But I try to take on the more serious role with Arty not being here. So with that said, I've got a couple of little things we'll talk about right off the bat. Again, some of it might be repetitive from my live stream yesterday, my show. But I have been massively reorganizing everything under my layout because I'm getting ready to do some work on the Delman Horse side. For those who don't know what the Delman Horse side is, let me pop it up here real quick. That is the Delman Horse side. That is one side of my layout. That's the Delman Horse side. Oh, you're going to go see the Union Pacific Big Boy on October 6th. Awesome. I would like to see that someday. I've seen the what is it? The Garrett in Australia, which is huge, but the Union Pacific Big Boy is even bigger. Of course, we say the Union Pacific. There were actually several big boys, but we can talk about that. Your first late night session on this show, can't sleep. Austria is flooding all over and no sign of it stopping. Hey, speaking of which, CMD models, I saw that there were snow warnings in Vienna yesterday. Was there actually snow in Vienna? Hey, Mom and Son Rail fans, how are you? Great to have you here. That UK layout is going to grow like Topsy. Well, I don't know yet. We'll see. But anyhow, this side is my Delman Horse side, and I'm getting ready to work on the Fowler car, but I have to do other work as well. You might see some light posts on the station there. Several of them, thanks to cats, the wires got yanked and the lights don't work anymore, so I'm going to be replacing some of those light posts. And then I'm going to go back to work doing the Fowler car system, although there may be something coming up that may delay heavily the Fowler car system. But I'm still going to work on some things and at least try to get it running, even if only the buses run. We'll do that. But Ben, just trying to recreate storage. I don't know how anybody else is. I don't know how any of you guys are, but I am horrible about, I always try to organize. I won't say OCD, but I want my things where I know where they are and put them in there. But I'm also lazy, and I'll throw things in a drawer or something I've got down here and say I'll put it away later. And I have been so bad about it over the last really 2 years. I don't know where half my spare wires and stuff are. My spare electrical bits, I've got a lot of things scattered all over the place. Like, I'll just throw this stuff I was working on in a box here and shove it there for now. And then when I need it again, I know it's there. And it's just been utter chaos. Okay, so it was asked because I was really thinking, hey, Haunted Railway Jake, welcome in. And did I miss anybody else? Okay, so the warning apps got it wrong because Joyce and I just happened to be talking about our trip to Vienna last year. And we popped on Vienna because we're looking up the name of a toy store in Vienna that we loved. That also had a great model train shop, Bonnert's, of course, if you say it in German, Bonnert's. Wonderful store in Vienna. And we couldn't remember the name of it. So when we pulled up Google Maps and we're looking up the name of the toy store, it had snow warnings everywhere. So it's flooding. Okay, it's flooding. That is not a problem we have. Toledo, my hometown here, Toledo, Ohio, USA. If you look at the map of the United States and you see that little mitten-shaped part, we're right where the wrist would be. Toledo is right there below the thumb. This is the state of Michigan, and we are the northernmost city in Ohio. We're right there, right on the border. But anyhow, yeah, we are in the worst drought condition Toledo's recorded in a century or more. It is really bad here. So, Jake, I'm doing well. I'm a little tired. My back's a little sore because I do have chronic back problems, blah, blah, blah. Nothing to whine or worry about. But I have a sciatic nerve that gets easily pinched and then sets me off for a few days. Anyhow, so I finally just crawled under these tables and started getting stuff. I've got stuff my son left here years ago and said, Dad, when I finally get my own house, and it's like, it's time he took this stuff. And I've just been clearing space. I have thrown out so much junk. There's more back here. I don't know what's easiest. This is filled with all kinds of old charging wires and old USB-A to USB 1 connections, which none of our devices have anymore. I have got that bag is just filled with all these old wires and old audio video equipment stuff that just got thrown in with my model train stuff. I've got some old pieces of wood from when I was building, scratch building some layout stuff that I need to get rid of. And that's just the stuff that's still here. I've taken out probably 2 or 3 times as much as that already. I just getting everything out from under these tables. And so I don't know, you guys can comment or talk about when you come up. You can tell me about, do you have storage and organization problems? Obviously space. Anybody into model trains, there's never enough space, and depending on where you live and whom you live with and what you do, we all talk about space. There's very rarely somebody in model trains that says, oh, I got plenty of space. I can do what I want. We accept the space we have, and some people have to do it on a little end table or a kitchen table or something like that because that's all the space they have. And we never criticize or downplay that. Hey, James from Dundas, how are you? Christopher Sakura Densha, how are you, my friend? Thank you for those very cool pictures and the video you sent me. That was very nice. And it was nice talking to you briefly on your live stream. I took a break from the work I was doing down here and saw you were live. So I was like, I got to go in. I keep missing his live streams. And of course it was near the end, but it was still nice. You saw a mouse in your office. Okay. All right. So one thing I thought I would have a little fun and talk to you about today. And again, in a few minutes, I'll post a link. I want to talk about this. As anybody who follows me knows, I am a fan of a German company called Märklin, and I do German trains, okay? But Märklin does make American stock. They usually release 1 or 2 locos a year. And they've released American stock, I think, at least as far back as the 50s. Now, again, they are a German company. Their primary audience is Germany. And they don't release as much that is really American-based nowadays because America is all 2-rail, and, we say 2-rail. Officially in the European model train world, the nomenclature, We say AC and DC. Wechselstrom and Gleichstrom. Alternating current, direct current. Although Gleichstrom, doesn't technically mean direct current, but I won't go into German translations for you. But it's AC and DC. The problem is so many people in the UK and North America use the term DC when they want to talk about analog, and DCC meaning digital. So DC becomes analog. But when you're in the three-rail world, we get caught because we say AC to mean three-rail. And just to remind everybody, this is my Märklin C track. And if I hold it like that, you can see the third rail, these little nubs down the middle. But if you turn it over, you can see it's actually a full bar of metal. And they just have these little painted metal nubs above it. And that's your hot line. And then your neutrals are the two rails there. And then two rails. So we call this three rail. So, I mean, it's no different than a Lionel track. It's just not a solid rail going down the middle. The solid is actually underneath the track. But anyhow, so we say AC for three rail. And again, I will get some electrical engineers that want to argue, but Märklin isn't really three rail, because it's like Märklin calls itself three rail and AC. You argue with them, not me. I'm just the guy that takes what they say and goes with it. Which Graham is here? Did I see a Graham? Or somebody mentioned Graham. Hey! Let's not, even in humor, let's not mention that, please. The Mad Train Reefer. We keep even political humor out of here. So anyhow, be that as it may, Märklin does do American stock because a lot of German model train fans like American railroad. They like American railroads. But since Germany is predominantly a three-rail modeling country, so this was listed as an ES44. This one was listed as an ES44, but I don't know if I'm catching you. But anyhow, they have done stock all over. So I'm just going to share a few pictures of it. And again, some of the stock pictures I'm going to show you are older, and they're sort of their cheap level versions. And then you'll see some nice stuff. Like this was just released last year. This is an ES44, and my friend in here, Randall Ellison, could tell you more about it than I can, but there it is. They released two versions last year of an ES44, so they do modern stock. But here is, was this a, this is a GP38, and I only know that because the picture is labeled GP38. So I had to definitely make sure that whatever type of locomotive it was labeled so I could recite it, because I do not know my American locomotives. But this is from many years ago. This is probably, and somebody might correct me, but I think this version I saw a picture of, I actually downloaded this off of the Märklin site. I think this model goes back about 25 years, 25, 30 years. Here is a Mikado, a Union Pacific Mikado. So you definitely get your steamers. Yeah, Tom, the same to me. I mean, obviously they're always model numbers, but the running numbers and the model numbers don't jive. See, the problem is Germans are so meticulous that what class the locomotive is the first three numbers of its running number, and then what run in the series it is. Like, it's, if you have a locomotive from Germany, it's a 218-051-2, and that means that it's a 218, and the 2 means it's a diesel, and the lower number means it's a heavy work locomotive. So the number 218 in the I see, my problem is I think in German, Baureihe, the model number. That's the word I'm trying to think in English. The model number 218. The 2 designates that it is diesel. 1 means it's electric. 0 means it's steam. So you could have a 118, but you don't. You could have a 018, you don't, which would be a steamer, or a 218, which is a diesel. And anyhow, the 218, and then the 051 would be, it was the 51st 218 locomotive built in its run. And then the third number is what run it's on. So if it's like a -2, it means it's the second series. And then you will get like, it's a 218-2, which means 218-2, you could get a 218-218. And by 218-2, that means it's a second generation. In other words, it's upgraded from its original version. So a 218-001 would have been the very first 218 made. And then if you get up to something like a 218-251, that means it's a second generation. So yeah, I get no worries, Mad Train Reefer. We really avoid it because no matter which way you joke, somebody gets upset, and we want people to have a good time and be happy here. So, and unfortunately, I tried to put these in an order, but Windows Photo Reader is going to read them in a different order. All right, and so, for example, when they made those ES44s and even an E9 recently for Union Pacific, they also make some nice running stock. So here you got a great passenger rake of cars. Unfortunately, this is only the digital image photograph. I could not find a live picture. Now, mind you, I only spent a couple hours trying to gather pictures today, so I wasn't doing extensive work. Yep. So that actually ends it. So I'll go back the other way. So here's another, they made 2 versions of this particular one last year. One with the American flag, and then one with the standard run. All right. When they released those, they also released this. It was a 12-car set of coal hoppers. And this is very nice. I know a lot of American guys bought these. Now, the problem is, this 12-car set is 3-rail. The wheels are not insulated. If you bought this, you don't want to buy it from Märklin. You would have to go buy the same exact models from Trix. But having said that, Trix didn't do a 12-car version. They did a 6-car version. Märklin released it as a 12-car, and then they released a 6-car set for Trix, which is Trix is just Märklin for 2-rail. So if you like stuff you see in Märklin, look, the product number will be different, but almost everything Märklin makes for itself, it releases in 2-rail versions under the name Trix, Trix. Here is an old, and by the way, in case you didn't know, there's the name Trix right there. So you just look for the green Trix. Hey, welcome in. Mad Train Reefer, 3-rail, you don't understand. Well, I just kind of demonstrated it before you came in, but I will gladly demonstrate it again. First of all, let me ask you a question. Do you know Lionel? Do you know Lionel O-gauge trains? Are you familiar with Lionel? Okay. Märklin, like the American company Lionel, has 3-rail rail track. Like, again, if you look at this track right here, I don't know if you can see, there's just a little row of, these are metal nubs, but actually when you look underneath the track, it's actually one long metal bar. That is a 3rd rail. You know, you got your 2 outer rails that you're used to running. Like, you know, obviously if you don't know 3-rail, it's because everything you do is 2-rail. But Europe stayed three rail, large parts of Europe or continental Europe, especially Central Europe. Even in France, probably 40% of the people in France run three rail layouts. And basically it just means you have a third rail. And this is your hot. You know, in two rail, one side is hot and one side is your neutral. One side is your hot, your positive, and the other side is your neutral. In three rail, the middle rail is your hot, and the two outer rails, the real rails, are your neutrals for electrical current flow. The nice thing is this means when you're doing reversing loops and such, you don't have to insulate or isolate. The only time you insulate or isolate is when you want to do block detection work where you have your train stopping and going. You don't have to worry about it. You can power it. Like I have a big layout here. I have a fairly big layout and it's powered by two power cords. I don't have drop wires all on because AC is in smaller level, AC is a better conductor of electricity. There's less entropy, there's less loss through the system at this level. When you get into really high 50,000 megawatts, then DC is a better way to supply electricity. But your house, no matter where you live in this world, your house is AC because it's more efficient. I don't know if I had that. Hey, Rick, how are you? And Willow Creek, thank you for popping in. So anyhow, let me go back and just babble on. It's probably not of interest to a lot of people, but it's just an idea I came up with the show today. So I just thought I'd show you that the German company Märklin does definitely make American stock. You can go on eBay and find it here in America. The key is it is three rail. And so if you were to say, oh, I love these cars and I saw them on eBay and they're by Märklin. I saw that guy on TV and he said that that's really good quality because Märklin is really good quality. Often better than the American companies, although some American companies are really starting to catch up in quality. Much like, but you'd have to own some Märklin to really know. But the problem is if you took one of these Märklin cars and you go and put them on your regular DCC two rail layout, if you put these Märklin cars, you will short it out. It's like taking a piece of metal and laying it across because the wheels are not insulated or isolated from each other. The axle and the wheel is all metal. So it would be no different. You have to either change out the wheel set or you have to get the Trix version of this stuff. But I mean, there's plenty of American companies that make it. But see, in Germany and Central Europe, from Sweden to Germany to Austria, Märklin is the king. In fact, Märklin actually is the world's largest model train producer, if you count all their subsidiary companies, even over Hornby, that now owns a ton of companies. Märklin, because Märklin dominates Europe, Central Europe, and a large percentage of Western Europe into France, and even into Eastern Europe. And it's three rail. So just all kinds of cool running stock here to go. You'll even see that they have a couple of boxcars here designed to go with the Challenger, the famous steam locomotive. Here is a very old Märklin. You can tell that's an old Märklin because of the blue box. So that Märklin probably goes back to the 70s, if not the 60s. And I shouldn't say very old because Märklin has been making electric trains for over 100 years. The company itself is 164 years old. Started as a dollhouse manufacturer and then accessories for dollhouse and then tin toys. And then tin toys led to electric trains. But just all kinds of cool stock. Now, here's one that is, dare I say, a little cheaper looking. You know, this is not your high quality, but this is from the I want to say it's the 1950s, 1960s. And it was made for a cheap starter set for either the American market, but in the 50s, there were still a lot of HO three rail model train producers. It was into the 60s that three rail in the United States died out, except Lionel's O gauge stuff. Now, there are still some companies that do three rail. MTH, the company MTH, actually made three rail locomotives to work with the Märklin system of track. Some cool little boxcars here. I know a guy locally that actually has this set of boxcars for his Union Pacific. Wow, somebody's doing time. More tricks. So again, if you like what you see in Märklin, then just look for the same item, but by Tricks. Tricks, you can see on these boxes here, it'll say Tricks, a company of the Märklin Group. So they just release everything in there. Hey, Todd Armstrong, how are you? So another one of those Pacific Fruit Express boxcars for Union Pacific. Here is a big boy, but this is the 4013 big boy, not the more famous 4014. I don't know why 4014 is more famous. Is it just because it gets run more? I mean, I know there's only a few of them left. And only, I don't even know how many of them run. I'm just trying to remember what people tell me. But Märklin does do, for example, here you got a Texas and Pacific. This is the, I believe they call it the B car. I did not find a picture of the actual, I believe this went with an F7. And there you have, I think this says up above it's an E7 or F7, but I actually think this is an E9. The photo said E7, but I believe, and Randall, you might know better than me, but Southern Pacific. So they didn't just do the biggest names, they did other names. And even other schemes, like here's Santa Fe. Okay, a Santa Fe F7, but not the Great Chief. Here's that Santa Fe again in the blue and yellow. And just all kinds of stock. This is all from the company Märklin. And this is only a small modicum of what Märklin released. It's the only running. 4014 is the only one currently running. I thought 4013 could run. Hey, Owen Concord. Yeah, MTH. But it wasn't even that they made European models, although they did make some. But they made American models for Americans that ran the Märklin 3-rail system. There is a large Märklin group in the United States. I was a member of a club called the ETE, European Train Enthusiast, but their thing is they were into trains, European trains, but they all were modelers too. And the club I had covered a lot of central Michigan and northern Ohio. And they were all Märklin guys. One guy did Märklin Z scale, and a couple of guys did Tricks N scale, but it was all Märklin. Because Märklin does not do N scale under the name Märklin. Anything N scale is released through Tricks. They used to do N scale at one time, but no. So just all kinds of cool little pictures here. And this is the one, I really wanted to get this one, and I didn't. And maybe when I'm in Germany next June, if I see it, I might pick it up. Again, it's an ES44, but it's done in the Pennsylvania Railroad Heritage livery. There's an actual ES44 with that running number that, that this is based on. But, you know, where I live in Toledo, you might see a Union Pacific go through on a cross-country run. But normally you see CXX and, you know, we used to see Baltimore and Ohio. But this is, I really like this. I like the Pennsylvania Railroad livery. I like the color. I like the livery. And they released this. It actually came out in January of this year, and they sold out. And I put it on my wish list. And by the time I thought, maybe I'll buy it, sold out. Couldn't get one. Not even on eBay. This is an older model. It goes back to the early 2000s. So when I say older, I got to be careful because, but New York Central, just a really, really gorgeous locomotive there. And then here is one, and I thought Randall would like this one. This was released in November of last year. And I debated, but I wasn't sure I wanted to do the Kansas City Southern because I was still debating on getting the Union Pacific ones. But they have released 6 versions of the locomotive, the ES44, and they're doing it in 4 or 5 different liveries. So this one came out, and Randall, the one that might get you now, here's another old Union Pacific model from the 90s. They did a Coca-Cola train and related cars that you could add to it, freight cars that you could add to it, and a caboose. Hey, Steve, 87 pizza. But Randall, this is the one. If you're still in here, Randall, this is the one I kind of want to share with you. This is the one they just announced. 2 versions of the BNSF. And if I don't do the Pennsylvania Railroad one somehow, then I might do this one because I think BNSF does come through Toledo now and then, but it's all over the place. It's definitely south of us. But I thought you might find this interesting because a lot of the American YouTubers I follow are big BNSF fans. And of course, the Kansas City Southern links into some of that with the how Canadian Pacific and whoever else merged. And yeah, and these ES44s all have smoke too. So here's the other one. They've got and I'm so, you know, I did a video of this that came out yesterday. But it took me a few seconds to realize what's the difference between them and go, oh, yeah, the font of the BNSF is a different color and a different style of font between the two. I don't know which one I like better. I think I like this one better. Rick, I'll see these come through Toledo all the time. If I see if these come through Toledo all the time, that might sway me to say this is the one I'm going to get. Rick, which one will I see coming? The Heritage one or the BNSF? Because I don't know what companies, other than if I'm stopped at a light, I tend to see CSX. So I don't know what other companies' locomotives you see coming through all the time. That's the faster of the 2 logos, I guess. This one makes it go faster. I like both of them. Because with the previous one, I like the big yellow thing to break up the orange in the front, but I do like this overall. Even though it's the same exact train, this one just looks a little cooler somehow. So maybe if I add, because I do want to add an American loco. The biggest thing is I want to add an Era 6 Amtrak. Now, mind you, queued, Märklin has done Amtrak. They did the X995 locomotive for Amtrak. Thanks, Tom. The Pennsylvania Heritage one just came through a couple of weeks ago. All right, now it's becoming a big issue because if they've come through Toledo, that'll be my other justification. It comes through Toledo. But what I really want is a modern, current Amtrak, and I wish Märklin would release it again because they have released Amtrak in the past. Here you got, I think these are what? Are these, it's kind of hard to tell in the box. Are these F7s or, you know, the old standard, but early generation? But I want current Amtrak. I want an Acela. Yeah, actually, I knew you had that, Tom. I mean, I didn't think of it, but as you mentioned, I'm going, like, that's right. I've seen you run it. And here's another one, but it is anywhere from $800 to $1,500 to buy this. This is an actual train that came over. Germany took their ICE and they sold it to Amtrak, and it was run in the United States as a trial to see if Amtrak would then buy some of these Siemens, the German ICEs. I mean, I don't know, class 401, 402, whatever it is. If you do zoom in on these, because first of all, if you look, when they sent it over, they still spelled the restaurant card B-O-R-D, Bold Restaurant. But then they stuck, because it's just an ICE. In fact, it's an ICE 1. It's a 401. Is its building class. It's model number. It's a class 401, but it does say Amtrak on it. But when they did the restaurant car, they still left it, even though the word restaurant spelled the same in German and English, that they left it as Bold, B-O-R-D, Bold Restaurant. Hey, Munsville, how are you? Oh, the Ontario Northlander, Todd, that was beautiful. I really, really, really hemmed and hawed about ordering the Northlander, but again, I do have a limited train budget, and it was either I order this or I order this. And then when a situation arose where, you know what, I could go back, because I was torn. I had 3 trains, and I ordered the one, but I wanted to get the the KLM Dutch Koploper, of which the Northlander is a variation of. And I love the Ontario Northlander, but I had no justification for buying it other than it was cool. You know, my layout is Europe, is a specific part of Germany. Someday I'll actually build the rest of it. I built the Delmenhorst train station and bus station and then called it good. I was happy. Steve, an ICE3 can get up to 300 kilometers an hour. An ICE4 can only do 280. ICE 1s and 2s can do up to 250 kilometers an hour. So let's see, 100 miles an hour is 160 kilometers an hour. So you're looking at about 120 to 150, 160 miles an hour, with the ICE 3 able to go up to about 180 miles an hour. The fastest I've ever been on an ICE, I rode an ICE 3 from Hamburg to Berlin, a nonstop, and we got up to 280 kilometers an hour. So here is, and again, unfortunately, I don't know the American era. Like, I will read from Amtrak or that, and it'll say it's phase 5B, phase 3C. And I don't know what the American or the Amtrak yearly nomenclature generation gap is. In European trains, again, these numbers are, there isn't a set line where it stops. There's always a transitional period. But in Europe, they have a 6-era format, although some are starting to call the newest models coming out in the 2020s, they're starting to call that Era 7, but it's 6 eras. Era 1 is up and through World War I. Era 2 is World War I through World War II. Era 3 is post-World War II into the late 80s, but Era 3 stock ran into, wait a minute, what did I say? Late 60s, early 70s. So Era 3 is end of World War II, post-World War II, into, the late 60s. Something changed in 1968, and they used that as a cutoff date. The way trains were numbered and codified, they went to some sort of coded computer-based referencing system. And so any trains built after 68. But again, Era 3 stuff that technically ends in the 60s was running into the 70s and even the 80s, Era 4 is anything built beginning in the late 60s and carried into the mid 80s. In the mid 80s, there's a big change again. And Era 5 is mid-'80s to around the year 2000, 2005. And then Era 6 is 2005 to now. But again, some people are talking about some things have changed and stuff being built after 2020 really should be classified as Era 7. So if you didn't know, but that's the German nomenclature. The English nomenclature, they have like 12, 13 eras because of how, where Era 1 is everything from the beginning of trains up to World War I in German and even American nomenclature. In England, there's like 2 or 3 different eras before World War I. But so these are these are Amtrak. The models are from the late 90s, early 2000s, but what they're modeling is from the 1980s, I want to say, 1970s, 1980s, and I want a 20s. I've got a friend, Arthur, from from O-Gauge Trains and Slot Cars. He does a lot of filming on the Eastern Corridor, Philadelphia, New York area, and he shows a lot of these, not only the cool New Jersey Transit trains, but he films a lot of the Acela Amtraks going through, and I think they're gorgeous, and I would love one, and I would be running on my layout if Märklin would make it. Because you can't eat necessarily, especially models not made by companies that do 3-rail stock. Like Roco and Pico, it's not difficult to convert most of their stock to 3-rail. They make most of their stock 2-rail, but because they do make 3-rail versions, a lot of their stuff is easily converted to 3-rail. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. Because they don't release everything 3-rail. For example, Roco just released a brand new high-end ICE-1 last year, and they did not make a 3-rail version of it. And I'm mad they didn't, because I would have bought it. I would like a new modern techie one. I've got a Frankenstein Märklin ICE-1, but I would like a new one. All right. Let's see. So just more stock cars coming up, American Freight that they would run, that you could have bought over the time. And again, this is just a smattering, but just to show you, these guys did in fact, they do make a lot of North American stock. Because again, that is just a small percentage of stuff they've released. Because even if they don't release a locomotive, they will usually release a couple of freight cars, in their main catalog. Every now and then they'll announce something in their subsidiary catalogs, because Märklin does the year catalog, which comes out late January, early March. And then they have the summer update catalog, the summer releases, things that they did not announce at the beginning of the year. And then just like came out on Thursday, they have the fall catalog. They don't release a Christmas one, but they release a fall catalog. Hey, Brian, Rock Rail fan. Great to see you again. So what I'm going to do here is that was kind of all the stuff I specifically had planned. So I'm going to post the link if anybody wants to pop on camera and say hi and chat. I actually killed a lot more time than I thought I would. Yeah, so because as we all know, model trains are an addiction, and I got addicted late in life. I was in my 50s when I got bitten by the bug, and I had nothing to do with trains. It's one of the many, many reasons I call myself the model train outsider, is because I don't have the traditional background of model train guys. I got into model trains because I was riding trains in Germany, and I fell in love with traveling by train, and I wanted something to remember all my train rides in Germany, especially when it looked like my exchange program was coming to an end, and I didn't know if I would be going back, which of course I have done many times. I started playing with it, and the rest is history. I went nuts. But as I've grown, I bought some trains from the UK after my trips in the UK and saw some cool trains there. And now I've got a lot of American friends that run American stuff, and I would like to get some American 3-rail stock going. Unfortunately, I could get some American 2-rail stock and run it on the British, and that's always a possibility because I could probably find something new and cheap. So Randall, or anybody who knows if there are modern models of the Acela in 2-rail HO, I could run it down here with my British stuff as well. Hi, hey, Randall, you're on screen. Great to see and hear you. All right, great to hear you since I don't see you.
Yeah, I got the camera on the trains right now. So.
Good, because I thought I was seeing trains, and if you said you had the camera on a cat or on a lamppost or something else, I would have been heavily confused.
Yeah.
I did see you did another, but I didn't watch it, another edition of Fredo. The last I saw, Fredo bombed his first race in the dirt track.
Yeah, Anthony, that new episode I just put out, I may have to delete it and re-upload it. When I upload it from the CapCut app, for some reason it jacked the audio up on it, so it's like really weird when you watch it. So I'm kind of debating on whether just delete it and re-upload it or just let it go. So
okay, well, I haven't watched it yet, so if you delete it and upload it,
yeah,
do so before I comment.
Okay.
Yes, and Steve, you're absolutely Kato makes everybody's trains.
Yep.
That's the one thing Kato makes, and I know some of you say Kato, but it's pronounced Kato. Sorry. Say it however you want. Well, and by the way, I watched your review video, but I didn't comment on it. Your latest.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about
it. And yes, that was Monty Python. It's a sketch called The Spanish Inquisition.
I knew you would know the answer to that, Anthony. That's why I made sure to call you out on that.
It's series 1, episode. Now that's the problem. It's like episode 5 or 6, series 1. Because my problem is when I started going to model train shows, all I cared about was seeing if anybody had the European stuff, Rocco, Pico, Märklin, maybe Fleischmann, and I didn't pay attention to the American stock. But I remember once I started watching American channels, as they came to my channel, subscribed, liked what I was doing, got into the comedy stuff I was doing on my channel, and became friends of the channel, I started watching their channel. And it became very, I started paying more attention to the American stock. And so I go into a train show, and there's this N scale, New York Central, locomotive and 10 cars. And they wanted $100 for the 10 cars, and then like $120 for the locomotive. They were selling them separate, but they had it together. And my God, if I did N scale, I would have snapped it up because it was one of the most beautiful trains. It was black with the gray striping, and it was just, wow, was that beautiful.
Kato basically owns the N scale market. I mean,
they do. And they make all the Japanese trains, of course, but they make Chinese and various Asian country. I think they even make trains from India, but they make a crap load of American and UK stock as well. They make everybody. If you want variety,
they're starting to make buildings now too.
Yeah, yeah. And Christopher from Sakura Densa, who was here earlier, Christopher, he actually met the owner of Kato, the Mr. Kato himself. And, I should let Christopher tell the story himself. I don't want to tell his story, but they're brilliant, and they make so much for everybody. If I had gone into N scale, and I still was trying to build Germany at the time, but wow, I mean, the size of my room, building an N scale layout would have been amazing. It would have been 2 rails, so I couldn't have done, because Three rail is so much easier to do what I do, where I run 6 trains at the same time. They're all powered from one source. The lanes aren't isolated from each other. I don't have to get into all that stuff. And I do love all the digital functions. But wow, Kato, I remember going to a train show about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the first train show I'd gone to once I'd gotten into model trains. And this guy was selling Kato, and it's like, oh, there's an ICE 3. Oh, and he's got the new ICE 4. And, oh, he's got this. Oh, and he's got the Shinkansen, 5 variations of the Shinkansen. He's got the golden Shinkansen, the really expensive one. Oh, and he's got these Canadian trains. It's like Kato does everybody. And there's a guy from the UK that's a good friend, Collins Engage, where he and Eric, by the way, if Eric is still here from ANC, because he was talking about he was fighting sleep, and this is usually a little past his bedtime, but he just collects high-speed trains from around the world. So he gets a lot of Kato, and he's got ICEs, he's got Amtraks, he's got the Shinkansen, he's got high-speed trains from around the world. And Colin's the same way. Anyhow, do you see the question to you?
Oh, I'll have to pull a chat, Anthony.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike, Monsville asked, why would you want a Monty Python sound on a train?
Well, I'll tell you what, Rapido actually puts these hidden sounds in there on all their locomotives. Not just that one I just reviewed. It's all of them that they do.
And we've got Chris here from the UK, but I don't know how much he does Rapido. I don't know if Rapido UK does that, but yes, Rapido has a sense of humor. And I have seen too many channels where they have the hidden sound files. So yours was the nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Our chief weapon is fear and surprise. Our 2 chief weapons are fear, surprise, and a fanatical devotion. Our 3 chief.
I knew you would know the answer to that, Anthony. That's why it names you by name in the video. So,
yep.
I heard somebody else say that, but I wanted the confirmation from you. So,
I had to confirm. Well, you could have trusted anybody. I would have stepped in and said, "You're wrong," because somebody said, "Well, it's Monty Python's from the Holy Grail." No, it's not. It's from the series.
I know the other 2 sounds it plays is it plays an excerpt from Wally Cody and the Roadrunner from one of their cartoons.
Okay.
And it also plays MC Hammer's Can't Touch This.
And to Monsville, I'll say this. My ICE4 has a toilet flushing sound. I would rather have Monty Python skit than a toilet flushing sound. We have somebody who's way past their nappy time. I'm sorry, in the UK, nappy is something else, so I shouldn't say it that way. Somebody's past their sleep time. Hello, my friend Jean Ricard. What's keeping you awake tonight?
Long time no see.
You woke me up, as usual, because you sent in this of all hours. Ow. But I couldn't help it when I heard you talking about Kato, because as you say, they make everything, but it's always in N scale. So it's a little bit hard to fix it with.
They do make HO. Kato makes lots of HO. It's just not shipped over here for some reason.
Not in Denmark either, but they are great in N scale. They have just.
You can find some HO here. You can find some HO here in the United States, of course. I can't speak for Denmark. I can't speak.
But another thing I want to comment on your run through of the American trains is that actually the reason why Märklin makes so many freight cars is because in European opinion, it's very common to when we see American layouts, it's always freight trains they are running. Like when I'm watching Randall's, it's freight trains. I don't ever think I have seen Randall running any passenger trains on his layout.
Yeah, and most American collectors, again, I won't dare say, I would say a majority of American modelers are freight train guys, because as Americans, unless you live on the Eastern Corridor, you're not heavily exposed to passenger trains. Yes, we have passenger trains 4 times a day come through Toledo, the Amtrak, the early east-west, one going east, one going west, and the late east-west, one going east and one going west.
Yeah.
But so we do see the Amtraks come through Toledo, but they're unreliable. And to be honest, unless you are in the right place at the right time, you don't even see them, because there's only one line they'll ride through Toledo. It's not like all the other rail lines we have in Toledo where you'll see all the freight trains. There's just one rail line they run through Toledo. They go into the Amtrak station downtown, which is usually empty, or you get a couple of homeless or very stoned or drunk people laying around it.
You should come there some more, Anthony, just to, raise the level of awareness of passenger service.
Why? That's what all the American channels are for.
Yeah, but I was thinking,
John, I'm retired. I don't have to raise anybody's awareness anymore. I spent 36 years trying to raise people's awareness. I'm retired now. Y'all can stay ignorant.
Okay.
I'm off the clock.
Okay. Got it.
I will happily share my love of Märklin to those. And what, of course, got me a lot of attention when I first started this channel, as all the European guys were, finally, somebody speaking English explaining Märklin. And then they wanted me to explain everything Märklin. I'm like, I don't know. I only know what I'm learning today.
As you said, when you ran through the new Märklin stuff on the video you put up yesterday or the day before, you could actually get a lot of hoppers, or a coal train, and put it out with a BNSF, the ES44, and you
because they're releasing coal hoppers with it. They're releasing some coal hoppers with it.
Yeah. And that's typical American, you shouldn't run Amtrak.
Okay, John, stop right there. I got to interrupt your Danish roll.
Okay.
That's a pun, guys, because Danish is a type of roll. Never mind. Anyhow. You used the words, that's typical American. I would now like to present to the jury, the audience, Exhibit A, myself, not a typical American. I like passenger trains. I'm not into freight. I run freight. I have freight, and blame Joyce for that.
No, I won't.
And then I blame my life, because I am too easily influenced by you people like, Anthony, you should get a freight train. And Joyce gets me a freight trade. And it's like, oh, Anthony's running freight. And then if I don't run freight, I get 20 people commenting, oh, no freight today. And I could just hear their tears through the internet. No freight today. I want some freight. So now I run some freight because I'm a nice guy. I try to be egalitarian. I try to make everybody happy to some degree. Now, I can never make happy. That's why you call me after every live stream or after every video to tell me what you need from me now.
Of course, you are the only Wish channel I have on my television. So why shouldn't I call you and get a new wish from you?
Celebrity is so hard.
Yeah, but the problem is that you want to run passenger trains, but passenger trains really don't fit into the American train system as of today. You also want to run Era 6. Then you should.
Yes, but there are plenty of Era 6 passenger trains. There are Era 6. They run them all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast. They do run. They're there. I could go down to the Amtrak station and see one. The problem is if it's scheduled for 2 o'clock, I need to be there at 9 a.m. and I might be there 12 hours because it might arrive at 9 a.m. and it might not arrive till 10 p.m.
And that is the train that you would actually, if we take that idea to your layout as you are so proud of, you would have 6 lanes. And
Who says I'm proud of my layout? Who says I'm proud of my layout? I usually downplay my layout.
Oh, but you're proud of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't stream it week after week after week. But
no. I stream because I'm a lonely old man when Joyce doesn't. Well, never mind. When I got nobody to talk to since my real life friends keep dropping dead. I use the internet to fulfill that. That's why you got to be worried. If we're going to come up and spend a week with you in June, you need to get a health insurance.
Don't you know that I was already at that point when we met in Hamburg. I said, well, now I have 6 months left to basically say hello. And I have kept staying alive for a lot longer than you expected me after Hamburg, but I have stayed alive.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was the one time on the Hamburg subway where you almost got pushed in, but then I held back. Yeah, I would get that because, yeah, Mansfield, that's true in Germany. Most freight runs at night, although there is daytime freight. But that's the difference. In America, the freight has the right of way. The passenger trains have to pull aside and let the freight go through. Freight has priority. In Germany and many other countries, passenger service has priority. The freight has to wait. And so they tend to run the freight heavily at night in Germany as well. But anyhow, and Steve put this up. Most U.S. passenger trains are pretty ugly. I don't know. I really like a lot of the Canadian passenger trains, and that's not U.S., I know, but I like the Acela. The only thing I'd criticize is that most American passenger trains are just silver. They don't have the really cool livery paint schemes that you see. The locomotives can. Like there's several Amtrak locomotives that got some really cool liveries, but then the passenger cars are just silver with the little red, white, blue stripe. And
stainless steel.
Steel, yes, they are steel, not aluminium. But isn't that the same as when we are watching the German IC trains? You know, they are white with a red stripe, and they are all white with a red stripe. They are boring.
Yeah, but there are the Regio bonds, which are red, and the private train companies, which are yellows and blues and greens and grays and all that. There's a nice variety, but in the U.S., all the passenger trains are silver.
I don't think, though. What about is it Go More, whatever you call it? That's a green livery they have, as far as I recall. You know, all the commuter trains around the big cities have no.
I'm 60 and horribly healthy. I'm 60, well, almost 60. Jean Ricard keeps reminding me I haven't actually hit 60 yet. I'm 59.
Yeah.
I just always up myself a year, but just so I get used to it. But yeah, I'm 60 and I'm in better shape now than I was at 55 or 50. I was in amazing shape in my 20s and 30s. I played sports all the time. I coached sports, played sports. I worked out. And then I stopped and I kept eating like I was playing a lot of sports, and I just went. And then I had a doctor say, you need to do something because you're building up for a big heart attack. And then I lost all the weight. I'm 8 pounds heavier than I was a year ago, and I'm trying to lose that. I gained like 14 pounds between late September of last year and really, I mean, I gained 14 pounds over like a 6-month period. That's bad. That's really bad. But anyhow, what did there was somebody else that said something I wanted to. But talking about the ugly trains again, I don't think the American ones are ugly. I just think to a degree, yes, the ICEs are white, but to me, white stands out better than silver, and the white with the red stripe instead of silver with a very narrow red, white, blue stripe with the word Amtrak. Everything, obviously we have our biases, but I just think.
But don't you think it's like a corporate image, that Amtrak?
It could be. It very well could be. But if you look at the locomotives they put out, they got some black and red ones. Some there's a whole slew. In fact, Lemke, which is now owned by Kato, Lemke just put out 6 different Era 6 Amtrak locomotives, but they're all 2-rail, and they're actually very inexpensive. And I have debated buying one and seeing if it could be converted to 3-rail. But I learned my lesson after that Acme Czech locomotive that, they make 3-rail, so this should be easily convertible to 3-rail. Nope. So I didn't buy it, but I could have got one for $120, $150 and then shipped it off to get the decoder and if possible, converted to 3-rail. But I don't even have modern era cars that I could have, because that's what my guy in California did to get my 371 running in 3-rail. Is he put the shoe on the passenger car because he couldn't get it on the chassis of the locomotive, and then he wired it. So to run it, I have to run it as a tandem. I can technically separate them. Yeah. That was something somebody else said something. Oh, this comment. You never run mixed trains. What defines a mixed train?
Oh, how I would probably classify mixed. Oh, if he's talking about mixed freight or mixed passenger.
Well, in Denmark,
or passenger and freight mixed together.
Good night, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
I would say a mixed train would be a passenger and freight at the same time. That would be considered a mixed train in Denmark.
I know they did it at one time, but I have not seen it in Germany in all my travels. I've never seen a mixed train. If it's passenger and freight. In fact, I think they don't allow it.
It was a typical Era 3 thing, or Era, early 1900s, because and branch lines mainly. If you don't run too many trains on the line, you will have to take the freight cars with your passenger train as well.
Okay.
Allow the passengers to have a coach with the freight train, more or less. What also killed it off was the fact that they, when at least in Europe, I'm talking European trains, but when you ran mixed trains, the locomotive had to do the switching at all times in every station. So the passenger train would be put at a platform, and then the locomotive would do the switching with the freight.
See, this is my false flag. This is a non-existent Amtrak. This is an Amtrak ICE3, but there's the 3rd-rail pickup shoe, or ski as we call it.
Just be careful you don't share that on Facebook, Anthony. The fancy team haters will come at you.
Man, I would be on this day one if America ever got an ICE3 Amtrak. I would be on that. It would be. I would love it. Come on, Amtrak. If anybody out there from anybody from Amtrak would be watching my little channel. Come on, Amtrak. Do it. You can do it. And ICE3, not even ICE4. I still like the ICE3 more than the ICE4 in terms of aesthetic looks. But that is one of my 2 favorite trains. I mean, not this model itself, but the ICE3.
As far as I know, the reason why a lot of European trains are not brought into service in America, especially the passenger cars, is actually because they don't fit the American standard for safety.
Okay.
Your safety board is much more strict of what the car could withstand in an accident, compared to European standards.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find that hard to believe.
Oh, but
I really find that hard to believe.
yeah, but that at least that's what
Oh,
we
I
can
didn't see
show.
Tom leaving. Sorry, Tom. Good night, Tom.
Because at a time in the 80s, I think it was, Denmark tried to export the rubber nose train from our railway manufacturing factory in Denmark, like the Danish IC3 trains, and they shipped a train that was exported to Israel. It went to Israel via America, and
Okay.
and it ran, but it was always coupled at the rear of an American Amtrak, and they basically didn't want it because it was not because it didn't wasn't comfortable or anything, but basically because it didn't fulfill the safety values of the American train system.
Okay. All right. Well, good night, Mon. Thank you for
Yeah,
joining us for a bit.
I was going to say too, they used to do that here in the States too, many years ago before the days of Amtrak. Some smaller roads would actually run mixed passenger and freight. There was one railroad called the Georgia Railroad that did that. I know because I have the Green Frog production video and has footage of it. So,
Okay. So, yeah. So if mixed is passenger and freight, that's just not my experience. Again, I do have older trains that go back to the 60s and 70s. And technically, I've got the two Rheingolds that go back to the 20s and early 30s. But even those didn't run mixed that I'm aware of.
No, but again, it has something to do with what type of line you are trying to depict. If it was a branch line, it would be much more common to run a mixed train than
Right. But
if it
again,
was.
I don't think and because again, I have traveled. I guess I will be arrogant and say in the last 20 years, I've traveled extensively by rail in Germany, and I have ridden on the branch lines. I've taken trains out to the tiniest little burgs and back, and I have never seen mixed. I have never seen a mixed train with freight and passenger.
No,
not
but
leaving the station, not going through. So I don't. I that's a question I would like to learn. Is it even still? Does it happen? And I just never seen it. I was
no,
going to
it
say I
doesn't.
don't. I
It
think
does.
somebody even told me they don't do it anymore. That like it's even banned.
Yeah, but whether it's banned or not, I actually think the problem is that you have to do so many things with a freight train, like putting the cars into sidings and so on, and you basically don't want your passengers to wait for your tasks to be done at each
Right.
station. It's more cheap to have a DMU like the little 642s you are running on the inner circle. That's actually a branch line train,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
today's standard. And as you can
Mm-hmm.
see, they don't even have couplers like the for the freight cars in Europe, where you
Right.
have
No, they can only
problems.
couple to themselves. Yeah, they can
Yeah,
only couple to
yeah,
themselves. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And I mean, the smallest I've seen is a 2. Usually you see them in groups of 3, but I have seen them as 2s.
Well, again,
But
that depends on how far out
the
you
time
are.
of day, where they're going, all that stuff. They have it, these people have it all mathematically mapped out, not necessarily to everybody's convenience, because obviously they cancel lines and say, you know what, it's just not worth, we don't get enough traffic, enough money to sustain going all out here. And that's where some of these third level private companies step in, because they're like, we'll go there. But we only go to these places, and we won't go to the bigger cities, or we'll go to the bigger city hubs just to drop off and go. And they'll run that smaller regional stuff, because there are places where Deutsche Bahn Regios used to take us, and now you can't get there by Deutsche Bahn Regio. Yet you take a Deutsche Bahn Regio to here, and then you transfer over to like an Eric's train or whatever to get, because we used to take Deutsche Bahn Regio to Goslar.
Yeah.
And then Deutsche Bahn Regio only has 4 trains a day that go to Goslar, and Eric's fills up the rest of the schedule.
Yeah, but then again, it could also have something to do with the regional government wanting to take charge of their commuter traffic, compared to that it's a state-run railway, with a DB.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Right.
example, you see like Nordwestbahn is running up in Schleswig-Holstein, and that's part of being, a Schleswig-Holsteiner, that you run your own train company as a surplus to
Does Nordwestbahn go up into Schleswig-Holstein? I thought Nordwestbahn stopped at Hamburg.
Okay, no, I actually think they go up all the way up to the border on the coast, like to Sylt and so on. They run, or at least some of it does. Some of it is also called
Okay.
Schleswig-Holstein Rail.
Because like there are certain destinations we go to, we know we're going to take a Nordwestbahn. But Nordwestbahn will go to Bremen, but I don't remember a Nordwestbahn going further east than Bremen, or maybe Hanover. Maybe they went to Hanover, and then they would go south a lot. Like Nordwestbahn goes to Osnabrück, and I think as far as Munster. And also you could take Nordwest, but I'm trying to remember, because they had their map, their route map everywhere. Did we lose Randall? Nope, we just rotated. Okay. Let's see, what is Todd saying here? I was joking about the mixed trains. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, I can't see the eyes to see if somebody's joking, and because of my limited knowledge of trains, if somebody says, oh, you don't run this. No, I do run a freight train most live streams, because the funny thing is, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't run a freight train again. I had been running freight trains for a while, and somebody came in, and the first thing was, oh, no freight trains today. And I'm like, oh, come on. It's the first time I ever run a freight train in months. I'm not that, I do try to appease, and I have plenty of freight locomotives now. So I enjoy throwing something different out there, but I could run passengers and never miss my freight trains. But the biggest motivation is I will usually run a freight train just so the freight guys don't feel left out. But there's anybody who runs a channel. If you put out content, you're going to get the people that are going to complain. If I don't, I'm going to have people, oh, you're not running Steam again. I rarely run Steam. And I'm not doing that. Randall's bouncing in and out.
What's going on?
I rarely run Steam, but I have a lot of Steam trains now, and I've got another one coming by Christmas time, I think. And that will be my second to last Steam, unless the only other Steam I'm going to buy is I can't decide between an 01 and an 03. Because I've got a Christmas 01, so I'm probably leaning towards the 03. But I'd like to have an 01, because I often use my Christmas 01 when I run that one rake of trains, that it was very common for an 01 to pull, the rake of coaches, I should say. That was very common. So maybe I'd angle towards an 03. But then rumors are Märklin's going to make a Mallard in the next couple of years. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I think Victorian Railways ran some of the branch lines as late as the 1960s. Okay. But in America, it ended a long time ago. Okay. See, I don't know a damn thing about American trains. The only, until a few years ago, American trains were, the things that block me on my way to work or the store or where I'm going. Yeah. I mean, terrible attitude, I know. You should run all the passenger trains until late in the broadcast to simulate nighttime running. That's the only thing I don't do in my broadcast, although some people have suggested I should shunt trains in the middle of my show, like run a train for an hour, park it, bring somebody else out, just to show it can be done. And I tend to resist these crazy people.
It's just like when you watch Anthony stream, and you always see, like at Delmenhorst Station, of which he's so proud that no passenger trains ever stops there. They just ran through it.
Oh, on the contrary, when a certain crazy Dane or some other smartass in the live stream complains that the trains never stop, like a certain Thomas Split Rock, I show that they stop at the station. But the problem is, they stop at the station and nobody gets on and nobody gets off. Now, the people on the train can't get off because they don't have any damn legs.
Yeah, and that's what you have done. You have amputated the legs of everybody on your train so that they can't get off.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Talk to the stupid model train companies where the companies that make the figures make them at 187 scale, and the companies make the stupid seats at 100 scale.
Well, they just have to.
So they have to lose 10% of their height off at the knees. If you remember the video I did about it, I feel guilty. I feel bad.
Yeah.
And so what did I do? I stopped buying the figures you had to cut their legs off. I started buying the pre-cut ones off. And here's the great bullshit of corporate world. Fowler and Noak charge more for the figures they cut the legs off than if they had the full legs on. It's less plastic and they charge more.
Yeah, but it's not to say that disabilities are cheaper than a whole person, so they charge you more for a disabled person, but you forget to buy the set with the wheelchairs that you should park on your station. So
I should get a set of wheelchairs just for all. But see, the thing is, we're one of these horrible societies. All the people that get their legs cut off, we hide them on the trains. So the rest of the world thinks it's all normal. But and you have to cut their legs off to put them on buses. The only thing they get right are the benches, the park benches and the bus stop benches. Then you don't have to cut legs off.
Yeah, you have to answer Happy Valley's question about your.
I have one on order. Because again, as I was telling people, I do not put stuff. I have a Teespring store, but I don't expect anybody to buy it. It's there if somebody wants to buy it. But the reality is, because you don't pay anything to design and put something up on Teespring, it's all commission. I design the stuff, or actually my daughter designs it, and then I put it on shirts so I can buy them for me. And then somebody says, "Oh, it's a cool shirt. Can I get it?" And I've got some friends that have bought some either Matt Clark T-shirts, or I've sold a few T-shirts.
I've actually got the Rusty Twanger one. So.
Yeah, the concert.
Yeah.
But
Crazy Nights in the Wild West, or whatever it was, Weird Nights in the Wild West.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about that, Anthony. I was wearing that shirt one day, and somebody saw me wearing that shirt. I think it was one of the railroad works out there, and they asked me, said, "Who in the world is Rusty Twanger?"
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here in Big Gulch.
I said, "Well, there's this buddy of mine that did a cartoon, comic book strip cartoon, whatever you want to call it. And he's one of the characters in it." But so you would just have to watch the show to get it. So,
because it's my daughter did it as a pure legitimate concert promotional T-shirt. So it's got all the dates of the tour on the back, but all the names of the stops except for 1 or 2 are joke names. Like there's Fork and Spoon, Fork and Spoon. And that, names like, like we had Nellie's Pass and the Cougar's Hole and all those funny names of places in the little world of Big Gulch. But yeah, I've worn my Rusty Twinger shirt a couple of times and people said, "Who's Rusty Twinger?" And I'm Rusty Twinger. Nice to meet you.
When are we?
What's that?
When are we going to see the progress of Big Gulch? You talked about a diorama.
I had stopped working on it a while ago, and so I need to get back to work of it. I need the motivation to do it again. The funny thing is, when I was doing the Matt Clark shows, I was big into getting it done. Since I stopped doing Matt Clark, it's all sitting in a box in my bedroom waiting for me to come back to it. The Black Mamba, I've got to finish the Black Mamba, and but when it's done, it's going to be hilarious.
But Anthony, everyone and then on these live streams, we seem to go back to Big Gulch and the whole shebang of Matt Clark and so on. And it would be nice if you had a shelf of Big Gulch, and some of the figurines someplace.
I've got the board. I took one of my old wargaming boards. It's going to be a 2x4, and I've got to get a couple other buildings. It's been on eBay for a while. I need to buy it because the only thing I've got the Rusty Saloon, and I've got a 3D print file for the Itchy Crush.
Okay.
And then I bought some other buildings. So I've got the thing is, I created these background scenes like the sheriff's office, the Big Gulch sheriff's office where it says "Have a nice day," on the one side, and all the silly stuff. So I've got them.
Okay.
And I've got the characters. I've got most of the characters made. I've got the only one, like your character, I don't have made yet, but Pricer makes it. I don't know if, it's already 9:30 and I really shouldn't have gone this long, but what in the hell? Why not do it? Why not? Can I? What's the matter, Randall?
No, I'm just saying, why not? Let's just keep going.
Because there's a certain Wi-Fi line that's like, when you come into bed, honey.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, we'll keep a PG-13 and not say anything.
To the show, we are used to her being, at.
She doesn't join this one. She only joins my live stream. So you have to come to my live stream.
Okay, whatever you say.
Yeah, if you want to see Joyce, you have to come to my live stream, or hope she comes through to get the laundry, because she's always doing laundry at this time of night. Joyce is going to be terrified when she gets to Getz. There are going to be so many people trying to meet her, and she's just going to be, okay, let me see if I can share this screen. Well, I can share the screen. I know. I just got to get the right stupid. Where are we?
While you're loading that up, Anthony, I had a question asked about this spine car on one of my videos. Kyle Stevens actually asked the question, and I already answered. But for those that don't know what that car is, that is a 10-unit spine car. Yes, they really did exist. Burlington Northern and Santa Fe both owned it. Back in the late 70s, early 80s. That's just a quick answer to that question.
Okay. So anyhow, what I'm showing now is actually my wish list from my German train shop, Modellbahn Shop Lippe. And let's see, I'm going to make this full screen, so I'm going to drop all of us off for a minute.
All right.
I just get to it first. Come on, where is it? Full screen layout. Yeah, full screen. Bam. Okay. So anyhow, if you look in the middle, there's these two horses and two guys with them. Well, that horse, that's Smokey. That's Smokey and Goliath.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we got Smokey and Goliath there. Let me enlarge it a bit, but that was just convenient. I will have to do some slight moderations to him, but that'll be Smokey. I will, and he's wearing a bit of a cap here. He's got blonde hair, which Smokey has blonde hair. I will just kind of take a scalpel knife and shave some of that down and give him more of a Smokey haircut. But that'll be Smokey and Goliath. And that will be the girl from the second Christmas special, the Krampus, where we did a parody of Scooby-Doo, the one girl he liked, Daphne Red. So they'll be there. But I accidentally took this off my most recent order from Lipa, but Jean Ricard, this is right here.
Yeah.
The second figure that will be with a black hat. That will be Stanley Steamhair.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will be Stanley Steamhair. And the guy next to him will be Nat Mayfault, the station master at Big Gulch Station.
Yeah. What about?
And then let me see. Which one was it? Was it this one? Are you going to open? It takes a little bit. Yeah. And then the woman here, I will cut the child off. Oh, I sound like a horrible step parent. I will cut the child off, and that is that's Donna Lott.
Yeah.
And then over on the right is Belle Buster, the one waitress and co-owner of the Filthy Glass Saloon.
Okay.
Because I did get these this week, but I accidentally took the other one off the order. So anyhow, that's where we're at. So let me go ahead and remove.
Yep.
And
the best part of that, you wouldn't have to do a whole lot of modifying of those, Anthony.
No, that's just it, Edward. Nobody has to go across. What'd you say, Randall?
I said you wouldn't have to do a whole lot of modifying to those figures.
No, that's why I was so happy. That's why I've been
it.
doing this, going through Prizer and Fowler figures and going, rather than me trying to paint with the hands in the condition they are, characters that really don't need. And the ones I can't show you on TV is I have a bunch of the ladies from the Itchy Crotch.
Okay. So
I have a bunch of ladies from the Itchy Crotch. A couple of them appeared in the Find Arty game show we did for my 2,000 subscriber party. A few of them showed up at the Kitty Cat Club or the Here Kitty Kitty Club. I forget what we called it. But
are you going to buy some of the, movable scenes from Feastman, like, or Knock, the...
I hadn't planned on it. I had not planned on it. It's going to be pretty static.
Yeah.
I want the characters like I've got a character he's done. It's Matt Clark. You would look at it's Matt Clark. I've got Lil. I've got Daisy Cockett, but I still want. The problem is I've got Daisy Cockett in her Little Beaver outfit.
Yeah.
But I kind of am debating on. Oh, and I got Maricela Sumbish done.
Okay.
But I kind of want to do so. If people don't know, Daisy Cockett and Little Beaver are the same person. Little Beaver is her actual Native American name, and Daisy Cockett is her white world name. But when she goes as Daisy Cockett, she's in the all black leather gunslinger outfit. That's when she's in Daisy Cockett gunslinger mode. And I'm trying to find a figure I could work with. So I've looked at some of Nolk and Fowler and even Wiesmann's naughtier lines to see is there somebody I could customize where I wouldn't have to do too much to. There's Daisy Cockett in her gunslinger outfit.
What about figurines from Walters? You know, because I would guess that Walters would have some figurines in HO scale that were more to the theme of Matt Clark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've also gone like on eBay and at toy shows, and where people have old figures. I've got some old figures that somebody sold out on that was selling on clearance on eBay. I just type in cowboy and Indians, and so it's like I've got some of the secondary characters, but the problem is there's so many characters, and I really just want the main characters where people will go, that's Matt Clark. I've got Diesel Dan done too. That's Diesel Dan. So I'll have Matt, Diesel, and Lil maybe with each other. I've got Sheriff Buck Dannon done. And people will go, that's Buck.
Okay. What about
even in HO scale?
What about the big suite, you know, that
the Norwegian.
Yeah,
called Blocker.
Wasn't he in that set? It looked like there was a Kellner in that set where you got there was.
Well, he's not a waiter. He's not a waiter. He's not a Kellner.
But didn't he work at the saloon at Donald?
No, he works at the brothel.
Oh.
He's the bouncer. He's the security guy.
Yeah. Okay.
He's an old Norwegian blacksmith. But he now works as the.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's Norwegian. And then we have the Swede is Ivor Longen.
Yeah.
If I want to make Joyce laugh, all I got to do is do Ivor's accent and go, well, doesn't that suck? Because he did that in that one episode. Well, doesn't these G's suck?
Yeah.
And Joyce will break out laughing every time.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't these G's suck? And you got to be able to differentiate a Swedish accent from a Norwegian accent. I don't have a Dane. I never did a Dane. I wonder why.
Because you cannot speak like a person with a potato in your mouth, you know,
That could be it.
Yeah.
But then again, Joyce, you know, it's so funny. I tried so hard to coach Joyce to do Trudy. You know, Trudy is supposed to have a Prussian accent, and Joyce cannot do a stereotype German accent that says, honey, the F's are B's. Yeah. The THs are Ds. What is that? She can't do it. So half the time she loses the accent, but it just became, it's funny. Just do it. Just, you know, Joyce trying to do Trudy is the funniest thing. We do more takes. Joyce, you lost the accent again. Now, Smokey, you need to start listening and doing what you are told. Joyce, you lost the accent again. And the funny thing is, I have found myself missing the characters. It has been over a year and a half since I've done Matt Clark. I mean, okay, I did the Christmas special a year ago.
You know, you just have to have your little idea pocketbook and take whatever funny bones that pops up in
the problem is when I decided I was in the mood to say, okay, I'm going to be done with Matt Clark, I'm ending it while it's still going well, I really painted myself into a corner that it's very hard to even do. Like, I've got a lot of ideas for their trip to Europe, but getting the whole who do you leave behind?
Well, Anthony,
who do you leave behind? I mean, if they have a trip to Europe, you can try to make funny excuses why the men of sex are there. And by the way, sex is SECS, the Southwestern Ecumenical Council Services.
Yeah,
it's a bit nippy in here, Miss Cockett.
But Anthony, what I mean is, as long as you just put up ideas, eventually you'll have so many ideas and so many plots that you can pick from them and just...
Right, but again, the point is, no matter what plot I come up with, Lil cannot be the same Lil she always was. She's got the 2 kids now. You know, she gave birth to twins at the last Christmas special, which is a joke in and of itself for some future thing, since her twins are named Luke and Leia.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you are going.
So it's the problem is, how do you Lil can't be going around Europe singing because she's got the 2 kids now. You know,
she would basically have to stay behind, probably. Yeah.
Do you leave Lil behind? Do they leave the kids behind with her parents or something? Like, while they're, I mean, that's a possibility. You know, there's, but there are certain characters that are integral parts, even if they're small bits. I mean, you're not going to have, and I've toyed with the idea of having European counterparts, but like the running joke, for example, the Filthy Glass Saloon and the Itchy Crotch, which are always there, you know, as part of the town of Big Gulch. If they go somewhere else, they're not there anymore. So you're going to miss all the little interplay. Like every time Silas goes in to get a drink, Belle Buster is his waitress by an arrangement with Daisy, so that none of the sexier waitresses come to the mayor, because the mayor is known to have slept around a lot. And now that he and Daisy are an item, you know, she made an arrangement that anytime the mayor's there, Belle Buster, big ugly Belle Buster, has to be his waitress. And every time he walks in, waitress, and Joyce comes in with, "Can I help you, mayor?" And oh my God!
But Anthony, actually, that would be a fun part if they went to Europe, you know, and they went into a establishment of that kind of European, and he might even have his wife with him, and every you know, of that type of establishment would have a figure like Belle Buster, you know, so that
it's possible.
But you know,
if you create everybody's European mirror image, it gets a little, and like Smokey and Goliath. How do you explain Smokey and Goliath being on a cross-continental train? How do you explain the horse? You know, and what would a Big Gulch storyline be without some of Smoke? I mean, you can have Smokey, but the horse would be left behind. But how many people are going to miss Goliath? Because a lot of people, like, they love Goliath. And if people still watching this don't know, because our numbers are going down. People have tuned out. Nobody's commenting anymore. All right, Steve, take care. Yeah, we should start wrapping this up anyhow.
Okay.
But anyhow.
It's just, I'm sorry about that. But
no.
I was just thinking, you know, if every time somebody comes to a new place in Europe and goes into an establishment expecting some nice new experiences, you know, with gorgeous, and there is some type of, you know, eventually one of the sayings could be, "Are you related to to a Miss Buster in Big Gulch?" And they could reply, "Oh yeah, that's my."
I don't want to give it away, but there is. I don't know if I'm going to do it in London or Paris, but there is going to be a running joke, like you're saying, but it's not that type. Is that they're going to go into different pubs in different countries, and each one is a oops experience.
Yeah.
Like this is, for example, all right, I'll give away a couple things because Lord knows when it'll come out. I haven't decided what to say, but one time the group is going to find themselves going into a gay bar.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's going to have some sort of name, and they all wondering, like, where are all the ladies at, or, you know, whatever. And then they're gonna go to Berlin.
Yeah.
And again, it's the 1890s, but we break the time barrier all the time. They're going to go into one of those crazy cabarets, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But
so just think German and naughty. And let your mind wander at that one. So that is going to be a running gag. It's just the biggest problem I'm having. I already have the bad guy. I have the bad guy. I kind of have a plot. It's just explaining the characters, and with so much action happening on the train, everything's kind of tight, and it's not quite the freedom to move around. So I have to come up with a plot that is very tight and somewhat limited. Yeah. But I do have a plan, and certain things to expect from a Matt Clark series will be there. For example, name some things before we go off. Name some things that every Matt Clark series or episode, well, not episode, series or has to have. She was hoping I'd be off by now. That's why she's coming down now. She was like, "It's got to be done at 9:45. It'd be done at 9:15."
What do you mean, like name something like a character or something?
Not a character. Certain things that happen every. We've had 3 series, 3 Christmas specials. Hang on, Joyce. You can be a part of this.
Okay, I got one for you, Nancy.
Yes.
Fredo's shooting up the hideout, seeing spiders.
That was only one series.
Oh, okay.
Something that is every series and every Christmas special. There's a couple of things that always happen.
It's very expensive in locomotives, I know.
The train gets blown out.
John's got that one.
Yeah, train.
I was gonna say,
Matt, did we just? Yes, Dan. We just blew up another train. So Europe is doomed. The Orient Express gone.
Well, you know the famous line, Anthony. This is why we can't have nice things.
I got that right.
But
my favorite one was was it series 3 or the Christmas special where they started off by blowing up the model train because Aloysius Dalt. Now don't touch the dial up too fast. The train can go too fast, and I don't trust the electricity in the store here because we just got the electricity in. And Matt's going, and Diesel Dan and Smokey are, Matt, make it go faster. And Diesel Dan's like, yeah. I can't remember Diesel Dan. Matt, turn it up faster, make it go faster. It's going around, and it's totally a blank thing, and you just see you hear the poof.
Yeah. What about
Matt? Did we just? Yes, we just blew up a model train.
Just think of what would happen if they came past Göppingen and Märklin factory.
Well, they weren't making model trains, but 1890s. I think that's about when they started making model trains.
You break the timeline all the time. All the time. So
you know what would be cool, Anthony? Now that we're talking about this, if they would come out with an exploding boxcar, I think they do. Someone actually makes one and have it later for the Big Gulch Railroad, like we was talking about that one time, and just have it randomly blow up.
And that's one I did, and I wanted to shock value, but I will have on the diorama. I have a 5 for 3-finger bill.
Okay.
You pick which one he is. I've got one. The thing is, I don't have a Bobby the Kid. I don't have any of the villains. Except for Stanley Steamer. I've got the main villain.
Yeah, that's always.
Except I don't have Senator Paul Patine.
Or Steve.
There was already a Star Wars joke from Series 2. He was Senator Paul Patine. Yeah. And so now that the kids, not anymore. I was going to see, any other. Can you think of other things that are in every series and every Christmas special? Matt Clark. Smokey's got to have his rants. Smokey's always got to have his rants.
Yeah.
No, Smokey, you can't play with the German lady in the leather outfit.
Flirting that goes on.
It's all a bunch of horse poop.
There it is, right there.
It would be so.
Maybe
nice.
Smokey meets his French counterpart.
Yeah, there you go.
Sacre bleu! Sacre bleu! It is all a bunch of horse poopy. But a villain will return. A villain will return. I've got the villain for Series 3. It's a villain I've wanted to bring back just deep down, and he fits the storyline the best.
Is that
Unfortunately, it's not Five Finger or Four Finger Bill. He's dead. Lil made sure of it. 2 shotgun blasts in the chest. He's not coming back from that one. And I kind of regret that because it was always, gee, Bobby.
Yeah, I always liked.
He
Bill.
was. Everybody loved him. It was so funny. He's a killer, and everybody loved him because, first of all, you can't imagine that he's got that many people he's killed because he's, gee, Bobby.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that in the last series he actually shows up as one of the main villains, as one of the guys.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, he was in charge of the gang. So, and see, the juxtaposition is where he hated the way Bobby was treating him. That's the juxtaposition in the last series. He is kind of like Bobby. He's calling everybody names. Oh, for goodness sakes. What? You know, he's always getting pissed off and yelling at his team because now he's the boss and his crew's a bunch of idiots. But he had some great lines in series 3. If he went out, he went out style because I loved him completely. Oh, for goodness sakes, why do we have to have plans within plans within plans? Why can't we just do it the good old-fashioned way where we robbed trains and killed people?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this, though. Hot Stevens will always be the best villain of the series as a whole.
I've already given away too much. But yeah, Kahat is going, either Kahat or somebody connected to Kahat is going to reappear.
Well,
He blew up pretty good. He blew up pretty good, but I love the Kahat. And the thing is, the people who really love Matt Clark seem to dig the things I dig. They like, you love the Kahat. And the Kahat was one of my favorite guys to do. But they all were fun to do. But unfortunately, Stanley Steamer is gone. But somebody has to try to find a picture of them when they were younger because some characters are coming over.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I don't have the tech to make you look younger. But Stanley Steamer, it was introduced as a nephew. Now, whether he's going to be as evil as Stanley Steamer or something else, because I've got a main villain and then a couple of potential villains that would also set up future episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see what we can do. I hope we'll eventually find Steamhurst's nephew somewhere, in some photo. We might.
6 hours ahead of you, so it's 4 a.m. for him, Edward.
I might have to pull something off when the Fredo Bangino the 4th series, but I kind of need to wait and see what Anthony's going to do.
Randall, I got to tell you, I am so thrilled that you named your character in your NASCAR game Fredo Bangino the 4th. Joyce giggles. She loves it. When somebody gets into what we were doing where you take your character and run with it, or somebody might say, hey, you can't do that. That's my copyright. I'm like, no, he was you. He's your character. Have fun with them and enjoy it. And
see, it was actually so easy to come up with that. I mean, you basically did all the work. All I had to do was just add the 4th to the end of his name and make him a NASCAR driver. That's all I did.
You took it on. So you put him in your game. That's a character that you've connected with. It's your guy. I mean, I can't tell you all the conversations I had with this guy over Stanley Steamhair, where I'm trying to explain Stanley Steamhair's evil, and he's like, "Why do you say he's evil? Because I'm the guy who created him." Yeah, but he's my character. No, he's my character, and I say he's evil.
See, this is what I was wanting to do when I get into season 3, was kind of add a little bit of a storyline where the offspring of Stanley Steamhair inherits part of the. Just a quick spoiler: Fredo's going Xfinity Series racing next season. So, but he's not driving. He's not driving for our own team, the Gold Mine Racing Team. He's driving for someone else. So
yeah, he's driving for Steamhair cars.
Well, he'll be connected to it. Well, I just got to conjure up a way to work it into the story.
Because that would be funny. Could I modernize Big Gulch? Could I bring Big Gulch into the 21st century? It wouldn't work the same way.
The problem is I can't do the voice, so
I love
any crazy intros.
I love that it's 1890, but they make like, but you look at the train station in
The Wi-Fi signal,
in Big Gulch or whatever it is, and they've got the Wi-Fi signal in it. Pikachu is on one of the station platforms. Just anything to break it. In series 1, there's a scene where Matt comes backstage to talk to Lil, and there's all these musical posters, and the first ones that are on the walls, and then there's a wanted poster on the door. But the first ones are actual ones that you would have had in the 1890s. But then suddenly it's Fiddler on the Roof in Oklahoma, and it's Cats and something else. They keep changing it every few seconds. Like every time the camera angle flips to Matt and then back to Lil, the posters behind Lil, even the wanted poster changes. Like the wanted poster is Billy the Kid, and then it's Five Finger Bill, and then the last one, it's actually Smokey is in the picture back there. There are so many little jokes, that I call jokes, and that either people just don't see as funny or don't notice. And I have people who write me emails and go, was your background scenery changing in this? Like, yes, it was. Why? Well, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, but you know,
or you get the people who don't get the joke. I get an email like, Fiddler on the Roof did not come out in the 1890s. Oh, God.
Yeah, or the answer should be, you got it, because...
Way to go! You caught the joke!
Yeah. So...
It was just silliness. It was fun. And the thing is, I've been doing the voices more and more, just randomly going to one of the characters. So I'm obviously been thinking about it, but yeah, this has been a 40-minute discussion on Big Gulch, which nobody in the audience except one or two might care about. Everybody else is has left. It's one of those, it was very special to me. It was a lot of fun to write, but I got myself to the point where I was like, I got to write. And I needed to end that. And just to force myself to end it, I ended series 3 on the Christmas special on such a boom. And now I've realized I made it such a hard door to slam that it's not easy to reopen. I want to do these, but then I'm like, oh, wait, what about this and this and this and this and this? But yeah, the next one is going to be, and I don't know if it'll come out in the spring or summer or fall, but I think the Matt Clark Gang will return sometime next year. I to be honest, I could sit down tomorrow and start writing because I've got more thoughts going in my head after sharing some of my thoughts and hearing you guys talk.
But Anthony, I think instead of thinking of the door slamming very hard, I think you should take it as an opportunity just to start again without thinking of the consensus, because basically that's part of it, that you can break the timeline, that you can make things happen without...
I can go back and do early Matt Clark episodes, earlier, like stuff before season 1, but then Daisy wouldn't be there, and the interplay of Daisy. See, there are so many nuances that have built up that a Matt Clark episode would not feel the same. Because I like writing Silas and Daisy. They are so much fun to write.
Yeah, but
the banter back and forth between them.
Why try to make it, getting so much together that you get a timeline? Why not just, say, well, some time has gone and now they are there, now they are in Europe, now they are wherever you want to.
Right, but again, it's the issue of what characters do I bring over on the storyline? Like all the main characters, Buck, Donna, Matt, Lil, Diesel Dan,
but
Silas, those guys would be there, but there are so many other background characters that make the Big Gulch storylines work. And how do you get them over there, or do you just completely ignore them? And you can completely ignore them, but they're characters I love. I mean, it's not like...
Yeah, but you could also use those characters that you love to create new similar characters in the new settings,
I'll have to explain creative writing issues to you someday.
Okay. Yeah,
It's easy to say to do it, but it's hard to do it because it's like, you know, you're better off creating opposite characters. You know, you create a storyline where they're in their pub, but that's just it. It's supposed to be a train-based story where they stop off at different cities. But I have so many things because I want to do some stuff that involves it's 20 years before World War I, but
okay. Yeah.
some incidences are going to happen that might lead to World War I.
Yeah. I kind of get your point, what you mean, so.
We're going to have a run-in with young Kaiser Willie because he's the only one that's an emperor. Of the three emperors, Nicholas was emperor by the mid-1890s, wasn't he?
We talking
he was Tsar. He was Tsar of Russia. He was Tsar of Russia. Because basically we're going to have some kind of a run-in with the three cousins, Victoria's grandchildren.
You know that there was one that took over after his brother passed on very young. You could take that brother, he would be a cousin also where the history as such is not as known as now. So he might be a better choice for.
Well, no, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to have them all in a certain town where they're having some preliminary meetings, and the Big Gulch crowd is accidentally going to stumble in upon it. Again, nothing has to be historically accurate because they're breaking the time and everything anyhow.
Yeah.
But I try to keep a main part of history somewhat accurate.
Yeah, I don't know if you know it, but one of the Danish kings, I think it was Frederick VIII, he actually died in Hamburg. And the unofficial story is that he was actually found dead in a brothel, But the official story is that he was found dead on the street. So, and they were also in some way related to the rest of the Cuthbert.
The Saxe-Coburgs, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyhow, it is now past 10 o'clock, and I need to go to bed. I'm going to fade here myself, and you should go back to bed.
Yeah. But
I think I'm going to get ready and head that way myself.
So, yes. So, on that point, we're going to bid everybody a fond adieu. Thanks for those of you. We still got like 6 or 7. Well, we're 3 of those 7. But actually, I'm probably 2 of those 7 myself because I'm on through 2 different windows.
Those that are unsatisfied with how the show has gone on, they could have joined. We are only 3 on the screen, and I think we are very open to anybody that comes in. But
oh yeah, but most people come in for the hour, and then we went past the hour, and then got talking on something that a lot of the people watching really know. You guys all know it, you're in it, but yeah. But anyhow, be that as it may, it is time to say goodnight, everybody. So why don't you say goodnight, everybody?
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Take care. Auf Wiedersehen. Choose a happy train. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you.